This is Traffic Jams. I'm Lisa Wilton here with you until 6 p.m. In 1960, a kitchen sink drama premiered on British television. Coronation Street now holds the Guinness World Record for the longest-running daytime TV soap opera. For 6 decades, Coronation Street has kept its loyal following intrigued with the daily lives and loves of the residents of Weatherfield, a fictional town outside of Manchester in northern England. And for the past dozen years, Canadian company Stroll Productions has been bringing Corrie stars to Canada for live stage shows. This year, Joe Duttine, who plays taxi driver Tim Metcalf, is taking his Tim Talk show to Ontario and Alberta, including 2 performances at the Varscona Theatre in Edmonton on Sunday, October 22nd, and one at Country Hills Landmark Cinema in Calgary on Monday, October 23rd. Here to talk a little bit about the tour and Coronation Street is Joe Duttine. Hello, Joe.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us today on the CKUA. First off, for those who might not be as familiar with Coronation Street, can you tell us briefly who Tim Metcalf is and how he factors into the Coronation Street world?
Yeah, absolutely. Tim Metcalf is married to who used to be Sally Webster, who is one of the long-running characters in the show. Tim is in partnership in the Streetcars taxi firm with Steve McDonald. Mm-hmm. And between them, there are a couple of buffoons that like to just have a bit of fun. He's a kind of a Corrie sort of comic character who's a kind of fun guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tim is actually not your first character on Coronation Street. You actually played a different role about 3 years before you rejoined the cast in 2013.
Yeah, I did, actually. I played a detective in the McIntyre storyline, Gail's ex-husband who drowned on a yacht, I think, in the Lake District.
Right.
I investigated that crime, but that was 2 years before I went to play Tim. So when I went back to play Tim, I did get a little bit of grief for being the same person, but they soon got over it and allowed me to stay.
Yeah, great. How did you feel when you were asked back to Corrie?
I loved it. It was great. I just moved up from London. I'd lived in London for 20 years, and I sort of relocated to the north of England, and it was just a bit of a gift, really, because it meant I didn't have to travel south to get work, and it was close to home. I had small children on the way. It sort of ticked a lot of boxes. Plus, it's the nation's favourite soap, and it's a pretty prolific job to be part of. So I was thrilled to bits. We kind of all grew up watching Coronation Street in England. It was one of those tea time shows, and interestingly, for me, whenever I heard the Corrie theme tune, it meant that it was bedtime. I was kind of a little bit like Pavlov's dogs, you know. As soon as that theme tune came on, I was legging it upstairs to go to bed.
Right.
So it was one of those shows I dreaded starting when I was a kid, you know, because it meant that my day was over.
Oh. Now, Coronation Street has a lot of fans in Canada and many countries outside of the UK. Why do you think it resonates with people?
I like to think people can identify with it. I like to think it's a bit of a kind of window, you know, from your armchair into somebody else's world that you can associate with. Perhaps less so since there's been a lot of explosions and, you know, big sort of stunts that they seem to do to compete with each other, do the soaps. Mm-hmm. But I think that people like the characters.
Right. Now, you're actually married to another Corrie actor, Sally Carman.
Yeah.
She plays the character of Abby. And it's probably nice to work together, but you probably have to find a balance so that you're not in each other's faces all the time.
we you know what, we sort of leave our work at the gate when we come home, you know, and then when we go in, we leave our private life at the gate. Mm-hmm. We very much our kind of own identities when we're at work. So, and we don't really work very much together, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
If we did, we'd probably make each other laugh or end up bickering. But we're fortunate those characters aren't too involved with each other, and long may that continue. There's been a few sort of hints and suggestions that they should get the characters together, but I don't ever want them to break Tim and Sally up, and it just wouldn't be the right thing to do.
Right.
You know.
Now, you actually came to Canada last year with Sally for another show.
This year we came in the spring.
Oh, in the spring, okay.
Yeah, We went to Newfoundland, we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, we went to Toronto for a little bit. Yeah, we got around, and I've just got some time off this October, so I thought, great, why not try and get out there again?
Yeah, because this time you're on your own, but you're coming to Ontario and Alberta. What can people expect from these shows? What are you going to be doing?
Well, we're just going to be talking about Corrie. We're going to be talking about some behind-the-scenes stuff. We're going to be talking about some sort of Corrie nuances and some of Tim's sort of past, present stories and some of the other characters, and just have a bit of a chit-chat and a general sort of Q&A session, hopefully, where people can ask me questions and test my Corrie knowledge. But having said that, the Canadian audiences probably know a lot more about Corrie than I do.
Well, I was going to ask, are you ever stumped when someone kind of goes really deep into this, into Coronation Street?
Oh, yeah. I did some interviews for some press over here the other day, and they wanted me to list all the Corrie villains over the years, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. He completely got me on the spotlight.
What is your favorite moment from being on Coronation Street, either watching it or just behind the scenes?
One of my favorite moments was when I played the detective, and I've got to try and remember his name before I get out there. That's a bit rubbish. I don't even know his name. He was a DCI of some description. But one of the things that I really remember about that was pulling up in a police car outside Jack and Vera's house. Obviously, they didn't live there anymore. Tyrone lived there with Sid. But just pulling up outside that house with 3 cameras around me, just filming me getting out of the police car. That was a pretty iconic moment because Corrie's so big, it's so huge, and that street is so recognizable. To suddenly be filming on it and knowing that that's going to hit people's screens, it's quite overwhelming. It's pretty awesome.
I just looked. It's DS Car.
DS Car, thank you. I knew it was. DS Car, yeah. He had slightly more hair than me.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for talking about Coronation Street, your character coming to Canada. Before you go, is there a song you'd like to hear or an artist you'd like to hear? Perhaps something from around the Manchester area to keep with Coronation Street.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Oh, crikey, that's really kind of, that's made me think that, hasn't it? I don't know. I was listening to Whipping Piccadilly by Gomez the other day.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was a kind of 90s band, which is quite fun, which is all about being young and being in Manchester.
That sounds good. That's a great song, too.
Yeah, anything. It's got a little nod to the north will do me.
Perfect. That was Coronation Street star Joe Duttine. Joe will talk about all things Corrie in his Tim Talk show taking place at the Varscona Theatre in Edmonton on Sunday, October 22nd, and the Country Hills Landmarks Cinema in Calgary on Monday, October 23rd. For tickets and more information, go to strollpro.ca.